And good morning. Many thanks for staying tuned to KTN News. This is World View. We take a look at news making headlines around the world. Former Somali Prime Minister Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo was elected as president after incumbent Hassan Sheikh Mohamud admitted defeat in a second round of voting by lawmakers. After 6 hours and 2 rounds of voting, Farmajo failed to win the required two-thirds majority, but had 184 votes to Mohamud's 97, prompting the incumbent to drop out of a third round. Celebrations erupted in the capital Mogadishu and even in Dadaab, the world's biggest refugee camp populated by Somalis in eastern Kenya. The 55-year-old father of 4 holds a joint American and Somali citizenship.
After months of preparation, political intrigue and several postponements, Somalia has finally made its choice. The long presidential selection process finally culminated in this moment, the swearing in of Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, Somalia's new president. Lawmakers had spent hours behind secure blast walls of the capital's airport in Mogadishu to make the vital pick. Celebratory gunfire erupted across Mogadishu at his victory after a security lockdown in the seaside city aimed at deterring attacks by the Al-Shabaab Islamist group, which had threatened to derail the Western-backed election process. Outgoing President Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, whose administration faced public and Western criticism for corruption scandals, conceded defeat as it became clear he could not win in a third round of voting. The new president addressed members of parliament shortly after taking the oath of office in a hall on the airport's compound, which is surrounded by concrete barriers and guarded by African peacekeeping troops. The voting process, which lasted months, began with 14,000 elders and regional figures choosing 275 members of parliament and 54 senators, who then had to choose among 23 candidates. Pervasive corruption is one of the biggest complaints among ordinary Somalis and Western donors. Rival candidates accused one another of buying votes. Anti-corruption Gut Makati said tens of thousands of dollars changed hands in the campaigning. Western donors had said the voting process was far from perfect, but marked a modest step forward from 2012, when just 135 elders picked the lawmakers who then chose the president. Trix Ingado, KTN News, Nairobi.
All right, and regional affairs analyst Abdi Wahab Abdi Samad is here in studio to speak more about Somali's election and the new president. Many thanks for joining us in studio.
Pleasure to have you.
All right, so this has been described as Somali's very successful, most successful election. It had its issues, corruption allegations, but the election has finally gone through and we have a new president now. Somalis seem to be very happy, taking to the streets and celebrating. But what are your thoughts on how the vote played out?
If Somali politics is anything to go by, it's very unpredictable. No one cannot predict Farmajo will win. The young, lawmakers, both upper house and lower house, are backing Farmajo together with ultra-nationalists. When the Ethiopian Prime Minister publicly endorsed the former head of state, Hassan Sheikh Mohamud, the large number of the lawmakers now, they started now backing Farmajo. He's a young man, very well educated, and in fact he was, worked in Somali embassy in Washington D.C. early 1986 up to 1989. So he's he's a technocrat. He's a former prime minister, and he's almost, he don't intend what they call corruption. So the guy somehow is a very clean person. So that's why Somalis, they are looking what they call alternative leadership. They have seen 4 years of administration of Hassan Sheikh Mohamud. So they're saying now this time we have to put in place a new face who can convert his energy and commitment into results. So in 4 years, for the next 4 years, Somalia cannot afford active Al-Shabaab. Both Somalia and region cannot afford. So Farmajo is a kind of person who's going to build the Somali security apparatus. He's going to build the capacity of Somali, army forces, so that they can easily handle the security of the nation. And this is one of the issues the ultra-nationalists within the elements of the both lower house and upper house are backing this guy. So he's a patriotic nationalist, well-educated, young man, has a vision for the society. That's one of the issues they elected him.
All right, let's speak about the fact that he has dual citizenship and has lived in the U.S. since 1985. And so many would say that he is not quite in tandem with the context of the issues that are happening in Somalia.
Let me be honest with you. He went to America when he was a very young boy. He worked, Somalia embassy in Washington, D.C. as a junior staff from 1986 to 1989. Again, he came back early 2000s. He became a prime minister. The former, head of state, former Sheikh Sharif Sheikh Hassan, when he was the head of state, the guy became a prime minister. So during his premiere, he showed the Somalis the true color of the Farmajo, what Farmajo is all about, where Farmajo is heading for, what Farmajo is doing for the country. And that's exactly he gained the hearts and the minds of the Somali communities. At that particular time he was in prime minister, he was the first Darod prime minister, which the large number of the Hawiyas now are supporting him. It's milestone for him, because when the Somalis are polarized between along the clan lines, this guy, he gained the hearts and the minds of the Hawiya clans. This is the first time in history of Somalia, after the collapse of the Siad Barre, whereby the large crowd of the Hawiya population is publicly endorsing and saying what they call in our local language, Farmajo Ju Zaidi. Yes.
All right, let's speak more about democracy, because after this election, it is expected that the next election will be a one-person, one-vote kind of election. But this model of democracy has been, rather elusive, especially for Somalia. How do you think it's likely to play out in terms of implementation?
Let me ask you, Somalia was a collapsed state. Somalia, in fact, now they're building the institutions. Never-ending constitution draft also in place, because already the former constitution they put aside. So it's up to the new head of state to complete the draft constitution. This draft constitution is one of the biggest headache Somalia are heading for, because it's for the last 15 years it was incomplete. Look, in Morocco, they make constitution 14 days. Look, after Mubarak of Egypt, they write the constitution in the span of 3 months. French Revolution, they drafted the constitution overnight. What kind of the constitution that Somalia has for the last 15 years?
Yes. Right.
And this exactly is a foreign intervention. There's a foreign intervention. And Somali people are suspecting, at least, the foreigners are meddling, in fact, they are meddling what they call the Somali affairs. And this is one of the issues why the constitution is far from over. So the constitution, it cannot be a constitution unless the public voted for it. Up to now, they don't conduct what they call a referendum, whether they're going to accept federalism in Somalia, whether they're going to adopt what they call an incomplete charter, and so on and so forth. This is the kind of the work this guy is going to complete.
All right. So what is in his interest, say, for the first 100 days in office, today being the first day?
Security, security, security.
Of course.
That's what. In fact, what he's going to do, he's approaching a single, state, be it America or maybe Turkey, who can train the Somali security apparatus, who can make a central command, who can easily handle the security of the nation. AMISOM cannot stay in Somalia forever. That's for sure. They have been there for 9 months. Al-Shabaab is an Al-Qaeda affiliated section. Look, you can compare what they call Al-Qaeda in Maghreb. When the Malians, when the French came to Mali, and that time all the the whole Mali country, the whole country was under Al-Qaeda. In a span of 8 months, with French, backing what they call the new government, they completely eradicated what they call Al-Qaeda Maghreb from Mali. Why can't we borrow Ali from them? Why can't we invite one of the superpowers so that we can easily eradicate these village boys, between 3,000 to 5,000 village boys, who don't have proper training, who can make a mayhem the entire region, that we cannot afford an active Al-Shabaab within the Somalia. We cannot afford. This kind of administration, they have to seek a model of the Malian model, whereby they're going to invite the Turkey, or maybe in America, or maybe in England, so that they can easily eradicate these kind of things, so that the country became back to normal. Yes.
All right. Now, of course, AMISOM cannot stay in Somalia forever, but it is in Somalia right now while President Farmajo is coming into power. What will the role of AMISOM be in his first few days in office?
First and foremost, AMISOM, they have been in Somalia for 9 months. When he was a prime minister, AMISOM was there. It's very unfortunate, the same, soldier who was guiding him, one who was the prime minister today also is guiding him. How many? 4 years, 7 years down the line. That's the clear indication AMISOM is a failed project. If you compare the AMISOM to ECOWAS in West Africa, whereby they have gone to Sierra Leone and Liberia, in a span of 2 years, they fixed the nation's problems. They built the institution and get out. We are expecting the African brothers and sisters, when they go to Somalia, they build the institution, they build the Somali security apparatus and get job well done and get back. Unfortunately, no, because the large number of Somali observers are saying the main purpose of the AMISOM staying in Somalia is just waiting for lofty salaries and the allowances they are getting from the Western world. But that's not an issue. We have to finish that issue because we cannot compromise the security. We cannot afford active Al-Shabaab, the entire region. So that will have a long-term repercussion, the entire region. So the sooner we think that we change the strategy, the better.
What about the views of the people of Somalia? I mean, many of them seem to be happy with this election, but do we have any worrying factions there?
The biggest problem of Somalia today is corruption. The small little resource they have, if they get someone who can manage well and good. Farmajo, when he was prime minister, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, when he was a prime minister, in fact, he managed the little resource he has. No, member of parliament can miss a salary. No, what do you call, the soldiers, the military, and the police, also they're getting their own salaries. And this kind of, in fact, last time, the entire military barracks was celebrating because of Farmajo. Because they're hoping that at the end of the day, they're getting the salaries. Salaries are one of the basic issues whereby the soldiers, a hungry soldier cannot, in fact, defend the country. It's obviously. So, the security is being compromised by Al-Shabaab. That's what Al-Shabaab they're doing. When they realize that the soldiers are not getting the salaries, they're compromising their security. They're getting some money, maybe there's some bribes, so that they can cause what they call, they inflict a casualty on the civilians. Right. So if this guy, if this guy can give the salaries to the Somali security forces and can take care of the well-being of the military, that itself can easily contain what they call the Al-Shabaab. The other issue which I'm going to point out, which is very important, Al-Shabaab, although they are fighting for, they're claiming they're fighting for local cause, at the same time they are advancing the interests of the Western world to keep Somalia permanent at war. Permanent at war. And this is a point of contention. One of the issues